Kenneth Branagh, as you probably know, is a perfectionist, so he and his character of Poirot, particularly as he's playing him, is also a perfectionist. So, we were really interested in creating a very real version of Venice, and then somehow interweaving that into the storytelling that was within the script and within the Agatha Christie material. So our starting point was really spending a lot of time researching palazzos in Venice and going to see them all. And we also toyed with the idea of trying to shoot the palazzo in Venice. We realized very quickly it wasn't going to work, and so we built pretty much the entire film. Anything that with the exception of the opening and closing of the film when Poirot moves through the city, we built the exterior and the interiors of the palazzo in their entirety. So that had its technical challenges. There was kind of a time frame for doing it. They were big sets, and we were working with water. We had to build gondolas going, into cabanas in the interior parts of the palazzos where you can bring the gondolas in, and then we had to build, huge piano nobiles, which are big rooms above the cabana, and that the top floors and these secret bedrooms and stuff. But it was a big technical challenge. But in terms of the design, it was a really great opportunity to celebrate all of the amazing palazzos that I saw in Venice. But I suppose in terms of storytelling, what Ken was very keen was that we create a space that you could move through and that the atmosphere would vary in, so that you've got almost an hour and a half in one house in a film, which is a tall ask to keep an audience entertained and surprised. So we tried to create different feelings depending on which part of the house, so that it didn't all just fall into the cliche of kind of dripping walls and spooky basement-y type feel, that you got kind of cavernous and cathedral-like spaces with seraphs and angels looking down from vast heights of, on the cast below, so really the idea was to try and create a very interesting kind of emotion-led space. But this house was its own character. It was one of the suspects in the story, so it had a kind of prominence that maybe a house doesn't always have in a film, where its purpose is really to act as a background to help tell the story of the actors and fatten out their characters. But in this case, it almost sat alongside them as an equal. That could be the guy who done it. Really, was the idea. The best day is the day that you walk the director on the set. When it's complete. This is very unusual, this film, insofar as we needed the entire thing to be done for rehearsal week. That meant all of the sets. There was a couple of the exteriors we were able to do later, but it was a very, very tall ask, and it was very ambitious. So that day that I was able to walk Ken around with it completed, and know that he was happy with the set was definitely the best day. The toughest day, I think, was is the realization that we had a hell of a lot to do in a very short time. We had to really battle with because of the release dates. There was very little budging of when our first day of principal photography was, so we were very tight on getting this across the line and built in time. So there was days where I was looking at supervising art director Peter Russell, and he trying to find out if there was really any way of getting this done. But the magic gets pulled out of the hat as it does time and time again, and we got it done. Ken was very clear right from the beginning that he wanted to shoot the film very unconventionally, so that the camera would be in lots of really unusual positions. So there's a structure that we tried and tested of how films are shot, and that you can float ceilings, you can move walls out of the way. There's there's ways that we've done this thing for years. He was really determined that this would be different, that when you're inside that palazzo, you were inside it and nothing budged. The ceilings didn't move. There was those huge beamed ceilings, and the floors were fixed. The walls didn't float. So it was it was a much more solid set than what I would normally get to build. And obviously, because of the depth that's needed in these crumbling walls as well, you just don't get to build flattage and stick some wallpaper on it like you do on a lot of sets. It was a really complicated set with very little movement in it. So it had a different starting point, I suppose, to other films. What made it interesting was the same as what interests me in every world that I get to create is the detail. I love the attention to detail, but there's two levels to that. One is being true to the historical accuracy, which is very important, but it's also being true to the storytelling. Obviously the flooded basement was our moment to kind of show off the what would feel like a very traditional horror genre, I suppose, of kind of flooded rooms and walls and dolls floating through the water and so on. So we played with lots of ideas for that, but I think if it worked, and thank you for saying you liked it, but I think it worked because it balanced against the kind of prettier spaces that felt threatening in a different way, like Alicia's bedroom, for example, where we like the idea of maybe an enchanted forest and never-ending corridors and places where somebody could get lost and not be able to find their way back around. So I think it was keeping the contrast between the spaces was maybe what made each one hopefully work.